Behind me is a Reptizoo terrarium, and in this video I'm going to turn it into a paludarium. And this entire build is focused around this light that Hygger sent me. We'll get into the light a little bit later, but first we have to make a terrarium a waterproof paludarium. So I've got to grab some caulk and seal up all these leaky joints and corners and all that kind of stuff. So I've already done that off camera. Let me walk you through what I did and we'll get into the light and the build. It's going to be a good one, so buckle up, get a snack, and let's get to building. So this terrarium was originally a hamster cage. That's what I used it for. And little hamsters, they like to chew. So you can see in the corner here, it's all chewed up. And that makes it very difficult for water to stay in because, well, I don't know, the caulk has probably been chewed up as well as the plastic, as you can see there. So we have to reseal everything to make sure that it is back to paludarium standards where you can put water in the bottom. Now I'm going to have to seal all of these edges here because my design, I think water is going to be hitting the walls. And so every single corner has got to be caulked and sealed up so that we don't have any water dripping through. These panels up top here are not sealed and not supposed to be underwater. So what we got to do is just get that stuff all sealed up and make sure that we don't have any leaks no matter where water decides to run. The caulk that we're going to be using here is just a GE Advanced Silicone, 100% waterproof. It's just a black silicone, so you shouldn't be able to see it. Going in here, we're just going to pipe down nice and smooth on all of the joints and the edges. I'll get a more close-up view here for you in a second. But we want to just do a nice smooth bead all the way down, pushing that caulk down into the cracks and crevices of the glass. In the corners, we're going to have to just goop it in. You're going to see that here in a little bit. But I'm just trying to run some nice smooth beads all the way down. Now, I'm an old man, so I got lots of experience doing this. It's just a touch feel kind of thing. If you're new to kind of doing caulk beads, just constant pressure and keep it moving. I kind of screwed up at the top there, but you know, we're not caulking a bathtub, so looks don't have to be 100% on this particular one. Just has to be sealed. Here's the corner where you can see I really had to goop it in. I tried to smooth it out with a little bit of water, but this particular caulk just sticks to your finger. Oh, it was very frustrating. But here we are at the end, went around all of the different seams, and you can see we got some really nice caulk beads. We'll get a better close-up of this one here. There you can kind of see some real nice smooth caulk job, I guess. So we got every single panel, top, bottom, sides, edges, everything sealed up, and we're ready to start building or water testing. All right, now that we have everything sealed up, it's going to be time for the infamous water test. This thing's heavier than it looks, so I don't want to take it off and like put it in the bathtub. So I just have like a bunch of old towels here, and I'm going to take water out of an aquarium that's actually going to get torn down to help build this one, and then use that water from a 5-gallon bucket, pour it in here, see if it leaks. So wish me luck. Let's fill it up. This is the aquarium that we are going to be taking the water from to do our test, and it's also the aquarium we're going to be tearing down. The reason we're going to tear it down is because I just cannot control the algae in here. I forget the name of it. I want to say it's like chlora something or another. But it's everywhere. It's embedded in everything. If I can try and get a little bit brighter here. It's literally just infested in the moss. It's just infested everywhere. We look in the back here, you can see it's just everywhere. If I get my hand out of the way, it's everywhere. So the only thing I think we can save from this aquarium is going to be the Anubias. For some reason, it doesn't seem to be attached to the Anubias. I lied. I take that back. I see some right here. Anyway, this video is not about this aquarium, but I'm done with this aquarium. I'm going to be tearing it down. I was going to make a dedicated video on it, but why? It's literally just going to get torn down. So anyway, let's take the water out for our test and then tear this thing down and take the wood out that we're going to use in addition to this wood. All right, so far so good. We don't have any leaks down here on the table. I checked underneath. I don't see anything underneath. Nothing over here. We have the water level filled all the way up to here. It's hard to see. I know this whole thing's black and it makes it, the black background, very difficult to see the water level. Maybe you can kind of see it up here on the front, but if the camera will focus, there we go. Anyway, we are filled all the way up here and we don't have any leaks, so that's good. So I'm gonna let this sit for a little bit just to make sure it doesn't develop a leak. In the meantime, while we're leak testing this, we're gonna tear down this aquarium right here and get everything kind of cleaned up. The plan here is to reuse the Anubias. I'll snip off the algae leaves and then we'll do a quick hydrogen peroxide dip on it. That should kill the algae. Anubias is pretty resilient to getting like peroxided or bleached. And the wood I'm gonna take outside and pressure wash it. That sprays off most all the algae and stuff, gets it down to the bare wood. So that is the plan, and then use this wood to combine with this wood and rocks that I have and continue the build. But before we do any of that, let me tell you the inspiration for this whole thing and why I wanted to fill up the bottom of this with water. So when thinking about doing this build, I partnered up with Hygger once again to do an underwater submersible light, and the idea for this hopefully comes to fruition. Now, I want to start off by saying, if you know my channel, you know I love Hygger, and we had our ups and downs with Hygger, and I've made some suggestions and wanted to let you know that the company actually listens to the suggestions. So this light here is the Hygger Dunker Pro. Now, previously they would have called this model the HG135-17W. That's what this one is right now. And that's their UPC or their model number, so they can track things in their system. I mentioned to Hygger it can be confusing, and that moving forward, it'd be cool if they named their products something that we could recognize. For example, to my left, your right, is the Hygger Max Pro. You guys probably saw that video. So now we have the Hygger Dunker Pro. And I think that's pretty cool. Submersible light, it's the Dunker underwater. So the Hygger Dunker Pro is going to be featured throughout this video here. And I hope that my idea works. We have a light on top of this, and that's for the immersed plant growth that's going to be attached to the wood and stuff. Again, this is all just in my head. I haven't built it yet. But underwater here, as you've already seen with this video, it's hard to see stuff down that low because of how tall this thing is. It's like 3 foot. So let's go ahead and take this out of the box and get a better look at it, and then let's dunk it underwater and turn it on and see what it looks like just underwater. All right, welcome to the floor where most of my reviews take place here. I really need to get like a review table or something, or maybe start doing this in my kitchen. I'm not sure. Somewhere where you guys have a better backdrop than my ugly carpet. But let's get this guy out of here. I have not seen the light at all. This is a live unboxing. Of course, we have our power cord there. And here we have our Dunker Pro. Nothing else? Nope, looks good. Immediately, first thing I see are some suction cups. Ooh, we get a plastic peel. Probably more satisfying for me than you. Another plastic peel. Yep, more satisfying for me than you. All right, so first thing that we notice is that we have some suction cups here. 3 to be precise. You can suction cup it to the back of the glass. You can suction cup it to the bottom of the glass. Other than that, it has your standard kind of attached remote or inline remote. Come on, camera, focus here. There you go. It's kind of your standard inline remote. Hygger likes to use these inline remotes. You have, let me see if I can turn this around. You can see it better. Got a timer feature for your 12-hour, what is this? 4, 6, 8, and 10 hour at the top here. You have your customizable 24/7. That's your 24-hour timer, 7 days a week there. You can set that in the middle if you want a longer timer time. You have your mode button for colors, some settings, and then your brightness buttons up and down here, up and down on the bottom here, up and down here. All right, so let's plug this thing in and see how bright it is. Now, one thing to note here is the extra long cord, which is awesome because if you're putting this down in an aquarium, you obviously want a super long cord. So I'm gonna try and get an estimated length for you here. Just on the light itself, I would say the cord is 6 foot. And then on the power adapter, you have about another 5 feet. So that is really, really cool. What we're gonna do is stick this light in here, and my plan is to kind of suction it to the back wall. I will let you know that it does feel like it floats, so it is definitely sealed inside because it's like a balloon in here underwater. Suction cups work really good. I tried to slide it down and it doesn't want to move. So that's good. Very strong suction cups. All right, let's plug the power adapter in down here. And for those of you that know, my biggest test for any light is it has to turn on when the power goes out and comes back on. I use smart outlets to turn my lights on and off. and the lights they need to turn back on as a default setting when the power comes back on. So let's plug it in. And the first time here, plugging the two ends in, let's see if it powers on. Hey, of course, I had no doubts with Hygger. They nailed this one on pretty much all of their lights. Some in the past didn't, but I think all of them now, they default to power on. If I unplug it, plug it back in, unplug it, plug it back in. Awesome. Cool. Well, it looks pretty bright. I'm going to leave that view up there for you guys. Let's go through some features here. Let's click the mode button. This is, of course, going to change your colors. You may be having some St. Paddy's Day party or celebrating Ocean Day or something like that. You can change your colors to whatever you want. That one's kind of like pinky, a little purple. Ooh, that's like an aquamarine kind of color. That's cool. Some orange, red if you got like a red plant. I guess it's a red-orange. And then back to a full white here. So that's pretty cool. Brightness levels, let's see what we got. Let's turn it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it goes back up. Oh, this is cool. It cycles. So normally when you go all the way down to the bottom, you would have to click the up button to go back up all the way. If you want to go back to full brightness, it just loops back around. You click the bottom button again. Same, I guess, if you hit click the plus button here, you're going to go up, but you can also go back. So it just cycles all the way through. That's really cool. I like that feature as well. All right, so I guess the next thing to do here is tell you how we're going to feature the Hygger light, and that is with all of this dragonstone. I'm going to try and build an underwater cave where it is backlit by the light and creating kind of a cool effect and allowing us to see all the fish and stuff that we put in the bottom of this terrarium. So I'm going to drain this water out of here, start getting ready to arrange these rocks, see what we come up with, and see what kind of cool stuff we can do with the Hygger Dunker Pro. All right, I left the water in there overnight. We had no leaks. It looks like my sealant job has worked fine, so we are ready to start building. Now, I want to have water trickling down from the top over all of this beautiful spiderwood. Some of the biggest spiderwood, I think, on the planet. So we're going to be building this on top of the cave, putting plants and stuff in there. And I want the water to be trickling down on top of all of that wood, keeping the moss moist and stuff like that, kind of foreshadowing here. So we're going to use this little Hygger pump. This is one of their in-tank or submersible pumps. Filters, rather. It's a filter. I'm going to use it as a filter slash pump. There's not much water down here, so volume-wise, I think we're going to be good. I'm going to stick this somewhere where I can access it, and then I have a little tube here. We're going to put the tube on there, and that'll pump water up to the top, and then I'll figure out how to split it up from there. Once I get that placed and kind of where I know I can access it and change the filter media, then we're going to use our dragonstone here and start building the cave material. We're going to start building the cave structure down here in the bottom. Step one, though, I got to put that little filter in there, the submersible filter, and then I want to put a gravel bed in here. I'm not doing aqua soil or nothing like that. We're going to keep it very simple, try and keep it clean. I have learned through the years that my preferred method of building an aquarium is just straight gravel on the bottom of the glass. I don't like doing aqua soil and stuff. I get a nutrient overload. I'm not a big water change guy, yada, yada, yada. That's another video. This video is already going to be pretty long, I can tell. So I'm going to do all this stuff off camera, not to waste your time. And it'll be pretty easy to just kind of see like, oh, hey, here's a cave. And then we'll put the wood structure on top. And you'll kind of be able to put this video together without wasting your time. So no time lapse or nothing like that. I'm going to fiddle around for a couple of hours and kind of see what I come up with. And then I'll show you what I came up with. Decided to give you a quick update pre-build here to kind of show you the substrate that I'm using and how I've got this set up. Let me actually turn off the Hygger light, the submersible light, because it's super bright and it's washing out the camera. So let me click that off for you guys. So now you can see a little bit better. This thing's super bright. We're gonna have to adjust the brightness on that, I think. But I found in my cabinet of stuff a mix of Seachem fluorite. It's like red, and then fluorite dark, and then some gravel and sand and all that stuff just kind of mixed in. So what I've done is I've built kind of a wall here with some filter floss in between these rocks. And I have the pump here. If we go up the side, it's going to be hard to see, but there is a hole in the side of the terrarium, which is now going to be a paludarium. And that's where we're going to run all the cords and stuff out. So we have to make sure that we're not putting any water flow here. The water flow is going to have to kind of go this way down into the paludarium, I guess. So I just wanted to kind of show you, save your materials, reuse it. With this red, it's going to go with the dragon stone. And I think it looks pretty natural as far as a color balance goes, where, you know, if these little pieces were breaking off over time and nature and rain and erosion and stuff, I think it matches pretty good with reddish tone, the dragonstone, which I have a whole ton of it down here still to play with. All right, I'm gonna go play. Just wanted to show you guys what the substrate looked like in case I cover most of it up. Let's get a cave built. Well, to my surprise, that came together a lot faster than I thought it was going to. We have our cave structure here. Now, this is all going to make sense in just a second when I put the wood on top, but let's get down kind of at eye level. You can see we have our cave with our super bright light coming in right there, some different angles of it. And then over here on the left, we have another like little cave there. And I know it might look kind of weird now. You're like, man, that's just a bright light sticking out. But from a bird's eye view, if you will, I have the rocks positioned to where the light should be creeping out of the cave in these two spots, one right here and then one over here. And you can kind of start to envision what I'm going for. This is going to be covered up here with wood, so you won't be able to see the source of the light. And yeah, if you come down here, you're going to be able to see the light. But we might, you know, turn it to orange or something like that and just kind of see what kind of cool effects we can get once we get the water in there. At any rate, here's what we got going on. This rock is going to be my removable rock where I can kind of just pull this out and then I'll be able to access the filter and then put this back over here. You get the idea. I'll put it back in a second. But everything fits pretty tight. The wood is going to stop about right here, I think. And then therefore, I should be able to get access to the filter. All right, I'm going to glue these rocks down and do a couple of tests with the wood. Then I'll show you what the wood looks like on top. And then we can kind of start doing the fun stuff, and that's adding plants. All right, update time. You can start to see kind of what my plan is here. I think it's going to look pretty okay. You can see we have the filter hidden here with two removable rocks, one here and one right up there. So those guys can just pop out. We have glue joints all over the place to try and secure this. This is filter floss and gel super glue. So we've got that stuff glued up. At this point now, we have to wait and let everything dry. The glue's probably got to cure overnight. So I'm done for today because when we start fitting in these other pieces of wood, which I've done a dry test, but when I try and fit them in while the glue is still wet, things are shifting and I don't want any of that stuff to break apart. So we want a nice strong cave. I'm going to break for tonight, come back tomorrow, and we're going to finish up putting the wood in. I think you guys are going to like it. There we go. All of the wood is glued down. Everything is secure. We have our layout. Now it's time to do some mechanical stuff, which is building and testing our tubing system from the filter/pump and figuring out how we're going to keep this wood moist so that we can grow things on the wood. Anyway, what do you guys think about the layout there? I think it looks pretty cool. Natural? Maybe not, but it might look more natural, kind of like a dead tree or something, once I fill in some plant material down here, get some vegetation in there, start softening up those edges, and of course, like the glue joints like we've got in here. And let's see, there's one over here for the wood. So these two pieces of wood touching there. Also, one thing that I need to do is you see right in here, there is some light leaking through the top. And for a true kind of backlit cave effect, I think I need to fill that in somehow. So I'm going to play around with some rocks. I still have some rocks down here that I haven't used. Might be able to fill in that gap right there. And then we'll put a couple little accent rocks down here on the substrate. And then we'll work on, like I said, doing the tubing here. Okay, I think the hardscape is done here. I've placed some rocks to kind of block off the light. If I get at the right angle, you can still see little tiny pieces of light peeking in and out, kind of like right here. Going to be difficult to fill in every single spot, but if I drop down a little bit lower, This rock right here is new, and then the one next to it is new. That kind of fills in that area and stops the light bleeding through. Put another rock over here just to fill in this gap that was a big space earlier. So we've got some things filled in. There's still one kind of gap up here, but I've glued these rocks and I need them to dry. I might stick one more rock in there, but we'll see how the planting goes. Might just be able to shove a giant piece of Anubias in there and take care of that problem right away. Added some accent rocks here just to kind of make things look a little more natural at the entrance of the cave. A couple of pieces that maybe fell off and broke off over time. And then we've got some scattered pieces of dragonstone over here around the front just for some visual texture. Looking at it from this angle, pardon the dirty glass, but you should be able to kind of see that it adds just a little more texture and kind of hides, like, you know, where this root comes down. Make it maybe look a little more natural. So let me get this thing filled up with water and fiddle around with this and show you guys kind of the flow and then maybe my ideas on how we're going to keep all this wood moist. Because to be quite frank, I'm not even sure yet how I'm going to do it. All right, I've got it filled up with water here. You can kind of see now the glow effect from the cave that I'm going for. I think once we get a bunch of plants and stuff in there, it'll look kind of cool. Plug it in, you're going to see real time with me what kind of flow we got here. I'm going to man the controls. All right, not too bad. I was hoping it wouldn't shoot out too strongly. Now, as you can see, this is pretty cool for, you know, one area if I was going to do a waterfall effect. But I want to try and keep all of this wood moist somehow so that I can grow moss and things. I'm even going to try maybe like some immersed bucephalandra or something. So I've got to figure out how to take this stream of water and turn it into multiple streams of water. And I'm making a cloudy mess down here in the water. That's why we have a filter, right? All right, let me play around with some ideas and see how I can figure out different ways to disperse this water flow. I've been playing around with this for a while, and I think the best way to do this to make sure that all of the woods and plants and whatever I decide to put on here gets moisture is going to be the following. I did try this where I was going to put a bunch of different kind of airlines in there and then route these around to different places all over the wood. But I'm either going to have zip ties here or I'm going to have to glue it along the back of the wood. And it just, you know, doesn't look good from a picturesque standpoint where you're going to see all of those lines and hoses. So I have come up with a rain solution. And the way this is going to work is this is a mesh top up here or a screen. I have some wire that fits through this screen right here so I can secure things kind of to the ceiling, if you will. So what I'm going to do is plug some of these, what do they call them? Your little spray bar here, that's what it's called. The spray bars that come with the pump kits. So what I'm going to do is this hose fits, this hose fits right over the end, I promise it does. There we go. So we have the hose over the end, and that's going to create a rain nozzle up here. There we go. Somewhere up here that I can put kind of diagonal, which will rain down onto this piece of wood. Then I have a piece of tubing that fits on the other end over here. So we put this piece of tubing on, and this piece of tubing is going to run over to the other side. Hopefully you guys can see this. This piece of tubing will run over here to where we will insert another spray bar / rain nozzle over here. And then we'll be able to have rain on this side of the aquarium as well, or the paludarium as well. So I'm going to get this set up, then I'm going to turn the pump on for the big rain reveal, and then we come to the fun part of this entire build. It is time for the maiden test of the rainfall system here. So let's get ready, plug it in. The positions are not going to be final, of course, because we'll have to make some adjustments once we figure out where we need the rain. Let's plug it in, see if the idea works. Water's coming up. Water's dripping out of the first one, dripping out of the second one. There we go. Nice, gentle rain flow. Let's take a closer look at it for you guys so you can see how it's set up. Now, one thing that I don't like is this tubing going up the side that you're going to be able to see. However, I don't really have a better plan right now. We might be able to hide it with, I don't know, a bunch of moss in the corner or whatnot. I'm not sure yet. I thought about running it up the back of the wood here, but any way you slice it, you're going to see this tubing. But the tubing goes up. It is plugged in here. Goes through that little rainmaker. This one seems to be perfect. Through the tubing over here into the second one. We have wire coming through the top of our mesh. This is just temporary setup. I will do something better that's not going to stab my fingers once we get it permanently set in the position we want. But you can see just wire through the screen here. By the way, we are using a Landon light to light the top foliage area here. I think it's bright enough. Oh, looks like we're already encountering some problems. This rain has slowed down over here. I'm going to guess that the filter floss is picking stuff up, which is reducing the flow. So, of course, with the height and fighting against gravity, but it still might be okay. I'm gonna let it run for a little bit. I'm gonna make some adjustments to where I position these so that it's hitting where I want. I don't have too much splash on the front, but let's close the doors and kind of see what it's gonna look like. This is why I sealed the walls, all the seams in the wall, because I want to make sure anything splashing here is going to stay waterproof and inside of the paludarium. As we might be able to see, we bump some different brightnesses. Can you see the water on the glass there? So we are getting some splashage. Now here on the front, you can see water on the front too. So some adjustments need to be made. I think when we get some moss and stuff up here, it's gonna splash less, if that makes sense. So let's play around with it and come back and get a final kind of rain position where I think it's gonna work, and then let's get to planting. Well, I just thought about my first problem literally moments after shutting off the camera. Let's see if we can show you guys. These doors, they sit on the outside of this ridge. So there's a little ridge right here, but the glass sits on the outside, which means that any water running down the inside of the glass just goes down into the seam, which then trickles down here and is dripping all over the place just because of the splashing. So we might have to rethink this, or I'm going to play around maybe and put some moss on that rock. I have a big chunk, let me see, over here. I've got plenty of moss right here. I'm going to grab a chunk and put it up on there. If I can stop the splashing, I think this idea is still going to work. If it doesn't, and I run this for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, and we're still having water leakage out of the front, then we're definitely going to have to redesign it. All right, well, I'm winging it. You're along for the ride. I hope you're enjoying it. Let's see what I can get figured out. Okay, sneak peek of the planting, because I think this idea is going to work. It's going to be heavily moss-based, which is fine. I did plan on using a bunch of moss in here. Been running this for about 15 minutes, and I definitely have this side covered. I'll open the doors here and give you a better view in a second. 0 water on the glass after 15 minutes here. Over here we have a little bit of speckled splashing, but I think it's because of the leaf structure that we have set up here with this Anubias. I don't remember the species, but same concept, hit the moss first. So what we're gonna do, let me open this up here for you guys, is we're gonna set the moss up. I just set it here, but we're gonna glue it down in a way that it's following the branch, and kind of, if you get moss here going down the side, the water should follow it, similar to how it's doing right here. And if we look over on the other side, you will see the moss is directing the water flow. So I think if we start gluing the moss up along the side of the branch, it should run down, or if we give it an area to run down right here, and then we can stop some of this dripping and AKA splashing. Over here, let me see whether it gets a little brighter here. Over here, I've got some Anubias to kind of plug in that hole. Anubias is going to splash a little bit, but I think, again, we can position it in a way to minimize the splashing. And if it really becomes a problem, I can put the pump on a timer system to where it turns on for like 3 minutes and then shuts off for, I don't know, 30 minutes or something like that, just to keep it moist, but it doesn't have to be running all the time. We're almost done, guys. Thanks for sticking with me. Alright, the initial planting's done. You see reflections because the doors are closed in the front. There's still just a tiny bit of water on the glass. Maybe you kind of see there. Very hard to pick it up on camera which pane of glass is which, but a little bit of splash in here. I am not sure where it's splashing from. Maybe hitting the leaves here is my best guess. I can't moss everything, so we're gonna have to figure it out one way or another. So what else are we going to put in here? Because it looks kind of bare. So let me go around and show you. So over here in Dragon Valley 1, I have some Bucephalandra that has been kind of growing immersed. Let me see if I can get a better view in the lighting there. So you see this Buce is growing immersed. So I'm going to snip the tops of that off and attach it to the immersed sections of the wood. Then down here, I've got in Dragon Valley 2.0, I have some more Buce that's gone underwater growth, but as you can see, more immersed growth here. So I'm going to pull some of this Buce off of there as well, just because it's already used to growing immersed. Let's keep it immersed and see how it does. If we walk into this room, we have the 75-gallon aquarium, and I'm not going to take too much out of here, but what I do want is maybe some of this grass. This is Hylanthium tenellum green. As you can see, it is going buck wild in here. Probably running out of nutrients, to be honest, but I think if I take some tufts of this, or sprigs if you will, stick it around the rocks at the base, it will give some nice texture to our new paludarium, and it will probably start to spread around once we get some nutrients down in those rocks. Back over here in Dragon Valley 1.0, I'm going to pull some of this golden Anubias out here. You can see it's just really kind of creeping into the foreground. So I'm going to pull some of that out. That'll make a real nice light pop of color underneath the water line in our new aquascape. So I'm going to grab some of that stuff, get it ready, and then we'll get it attached and planted. All right, we have our selection of plants. I did add a little bit of Anubias nana petite. I'm going to put that on the wood. I think it'll look pretty cool. Here's our Hylanthium tenellum. We've got some more than I need, but we have some Anubias nana golden. And then we have our Buce here. We have Buce, I think this is Brownie Ghost. I don't remember what the other one is, but they're very similar species. They have kind of a nice purpley green color, so that's pretty cool. We're gonna get that on the wood immersed as well. So let's go ahead and maybe do a little montage for you. So I have my Hylanthium tenellum green here, and I was going to stick it in there, but I think the scale is off a little bit. It's just too big in comparison to the other Anubias and these other leaves and stuff. So I'm going to swap it out for some Liliopsis brasiliensis that I have in another aquarium. And there we go, guys. We have it completed. Now, it looks pretty cool right now with a lot of wood exposed, and I like it kind of minimalistic, if you will. It's going to grow in, and that's kind of the whole point of setting this up, was to do it in a way that it would slowly grow in, fill in. You know, all of our Anubias and stuff down here will eventually attach to the wood, take root, and just keep growing. I will be fertilizing the water itself, so as this drips down, you're going to get fertilization throughout the aquarium. I'm sorry, the paludarium. Some things that I'm concerned about is some of the Anubias here maybe. It looks like it's getting splashed enough to keep the leaves wet. They will have to go to an immersed state, and the roots are not really like touching the water and stuff here. So this is kind of a trial. I have more of this if this doesn't make it. But Anubias is pretty hardy, and it seems to figure out a way to grow. And with enough dripping here, I think it's going to splash enough moisture around that it will take root. But we'll have to do an update later on and see how that's working. Let's run through it real quick here. At the top, we have our weeping moss and then some bucephalandra I just kind of stuck in sporadically. The moss should keep the root of the bucephalandra wet, and so it should grow, I'm thinking. I did the same thing over here on the top, weeping moss with just one piece of boost. The boost will slowly grow, like I said. And moving down, just a piece of moss with some Anubias and boost stuck into this area right here. That's getting directly dripped on, so this should all stay moist in there. Over here on the other side, we've got a moss and bucephalandra compilation. It's kind of hard to see the boost. It's really dark against the wood, but in person, it's one of those subtle details where as you browse around, you catch little things like that that blend in, and I think it looks pretty natural. We've got bucephalandra and Anubias over here as well. One of my favorite parts of this entire setup is right there. A little bit of weeping moss and some boost that you guys saw me put in here. Hopefully that boost grows up and you can see it a little bit better. I rearranged the rocks a little bit over here on the side just to give it a little more height, and it blends into the wood a lot better than having the rock flat. As we scroll down, you guys saw this and I talked about it. We've got moss here that's just protecting this drip coming off of this little stub right here. Oh, I forgot. I stuck a little piece of boost in there. See, there's so many little tiny details. This is what makes it interesting to look at this setup. Filled in with some Boost Nana Golden down here below the water line as well. You guys saw me put a couple of pieces of bucephalandra in here. Again, hard to see. Look at the glow coming out of that cave. It's crazy. But there is a piece of, what is that, Cryptococcus flamingo here. And then we've got our Liliopsis, 2 pieces of boost there. 1 pink flamingo, and then another piece of, I think again it's Frazieri or something, is this long-leafed Anubias. I did this one intentionally to kind of grow out of the water. We'll see how that holds up. And there you go. There is the setup. Now I want to do one more thing here. Let's play with this Hygger light. This entire setup was derived from having an underwater light, and I really think it looks cool glowing out of there. The water's still a little bit cloudy. We have some filter flossing to do overnight to clear that water up, but even a little cloudy, it looks pretty cool. I'm going to set the camera here and cycle through a couple of colors. All right, let's see what this Hygger light can do here. Let's go through some colors again. First, let's try dimming it down. So if we dim it down a little bit here, I want to try and see what it looks like, just kind of a faint glow. So that's down at 20%, and maybe doing a fainter glow is the way to go there. Just kind of this subtle detail illuminating from beneath the cave is so cool. Let's try, what do we got there? Well, that's red. Red doesn't show up too well. Green is kind of cool. I mean, it's not natural, but green's kind of cool poking out from under there a little bit. And then we've got, I'm thinking orange. So there's blue. Let me try and move you guys back a little bit so you get a little bit better view. There we go. Now this is what it's going to look like kind of poking out from under there. This is how I see it when I walk into the office. I'm right in the middle of the office right now, so this is kind of the view that I get. Let's go, I think orange is next. No, like pink or purple. That one's kind of faint if we turn that up a little bit. Not my style on the pink. Now there's purple. There's aqua. Aqua's kind of cool looking. Not natural, but it looks cool. Orange. This is the one I was kind of thinking would be kind of, I don't know, like a day glow or something like that. Let me see what it looks like in the camera. Camera's making it look a little bit brighter than in person, but the orange is kind of cool, I think. Now we already kind of did this once, but with water in it, it looks a lot different. That's like a red orange or a really, really bright orange, kind of an orangey yellow. Oh no, that's the cycle mode. Hey, look, I found a new mode. So that one's just cycling the colors. When you click the last mode button there, it's shifting the colors. That's actually pretty cool. I'm not really a big color change guy, but on this kind of fantasy aquascape, that actually looks pretty cool. I wish I could darken the room, but all of my lights are on one timer. So, man, that's pretty cool. Let's go back to just the white light that's dim. Now, you know what? I think I'm going to leave it right there on the cycling colors. And it is on what percentage? It's at 100%. Let's cycle down a little bit lower. Yeah, I think that's it right there. Cycling the colors. Let's just leave it on party mode. All right, guys, it's going to wrap up this build. I want to first say a huge thank you to Hygger for providing the light. If you want this submersible light or any product that Hygger makes, jump onto the link down below and make sure when you go to Hygger's website that you enter code SS Aquascapes. You'll get 10% off of anything you order there. So go get yourself a submersible light, make a cave or do something kind of crazy. You know, it might be cool to put it like under the gravel and like have a loose gravel or something and just barely have some glow coming out. But again, thanks to Hygger for providing the light. It's kind of a new thing that I've worked with, and it was very fun to do a build around that light. Now, all we have left to do is figure out what to put under the water. So I need fish suggestions from you guys. Do we want, I don't know, maybe crabs? We could do like a little crab or something. I know crabs eat plants, but whatever. You guys drop in the comments, put down fish and other aquatic creature suggestions. Maybe we'll do something different that we haven't seen in the fish room. Thank you for watching the build. I hope it was super enjoyable for you guys. Once again, thanks to Hygger. Go do something cool, and we'll see you on the next video.